Coming up next is Marvel News number 98. It's an all Marvel Universe edition of Marvel News, and we're going to talk about the sad story of Gary Friedrichs and the Ghost Rider. We're also going to talk about Jason Aaron saying goodbye to Wolverine. We're going to talk about Warren Ellis's future work at Marvel, which is coming, but is going to be a little while. We're going to talk about Venom, the crossover that's coming up at Marvel, and how prescient that is for the entire Marvel Universe. And we're going to talk about the sad state of Marvel's kids' books and how it might be getting better. All that and more coming right up.
Alternate Reality now opens at 10:30 instead of 11 on Sundays. Losing half an hour sleep over this, and so you guys better show up.
Brain surgeon to bongo drummer, we all love Marvel News.
I'm gonna tell my tale, come on, give a listen. Marvel News, episode 98. All-inclusive exclusive.
Hey folks, Comic Book Man here. Welcome once again to my video outhouse. It's time for
Marvel News.
Marvel News. And Marvel News is coming to you from this place, Alternate Reality, which is located at the intersection of 111th and Kedzie in beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood. You want to know what 111th looks like? Right there! 111th Street, right there!
We got the bums off the street before we shot it.
That's 7-Eleven across the street. That's where I get my coffee. That's it. This is it. This is it. 111th and Kedzie. We're all new comics, especially on my Marvel comics. We're always 15% off every day for everyone. Our first story up involves Gary Friedrich. He got some bad news this week involving the Ghost Rider and the legal system. Tell these people the tale of woe that Gary Friedrich is going through right now.
Gary Friedrich lost his lawsuit against Marvel. He attempted to gain ownership of the Ghost Rider. Friedrich claimed that
for those of you who don't know, Gary Friedrichs created the Ghost Rider.
Co-created the Ghost Rider.
Co-created
with Mike Ploog, who isn't suing, which sort of screwed him. That was one of the problems.
With Mike Ploog, way back in Marvel Spotlight number 5, I believe. Yeah, 5.
Well, Friedrich claimed he created the character in 1968. He sold the character to Marvel in 1971, and because of the way the copyright laws are set up, right around the time the Ghost Rider movie came out, he believed that he owned full ownership of the character because the copyright reverted to him. So he decided to sue Columbia Pictures, Marvel, Hasbro, and anyone who had anything to do with the Ghost Rider film. The judge this week basically told him, get out of my courtroom with this stupidity. He says, look, you cashed checks in 1971 that said quite clearly on the back of the check you were signing over rights to the character to Marvel.
Yep.
In 1978, you signed an agreement with Marvel. You signed more checks with Marvel to get work at Marvel, and you gave up the rights to the Ghost Rider to what was Marvel at that point. It was like some other company, some other parent company at that point, but it's basically alternative to Marvel. He says, you cashed the checks. I don't even have to talk about the concept of work for hire because obviously you created this while you were working at Marvel. Get out of my courtroom. He says he's going to appeal, but it's pointless.
For those of you who are wondering about work for hire at Marvel, the thing that Marvel always had, at least for the 60s and the 70s, which is what a lot of these lawsuits stem out of, when you physically got your check from Marvel Comics, when you got your check that you took to the bank to cash, when you flipped over the check to sign the back, what you signed was not only the check, but also a contract that was written underneath, on the back of the check.
Right, it was on the check.
That said, I am signing all my rights to everything that I did in relation to earning this check to Marvel Comics. Here's my signature, cash my check, I am done, bye. That's
once
it.
The check is cashed, you've basically accepted the contract.
Yeah.
The other problem with this lawsuit is the fact that he didn't sue over ownership before the Ghost Rider movie came out. He waited until the Ghost Rider movie came out. And there's a sequel coming out, so you really want to sue now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other part, he said the biggest problem was co-creator, Mike Ploog. Ploog's not suing Marvel. Ploog could care less. You can't claim ownership of something if half of the people you created it with don't have any beef with the fact that the character belongs to Marvel, because Ploog understood the agreement too.
Yeah, my problem with that is if Mike Ploog wasn't in on the lawsuit, how are you planning on even attempting to win this lawsuit? I mean, you're establishing that Mike Ploog and I co-created this character, but Mike Ploog doesn't want to be part of this lawsuit with me in order to prove that we co-created this character. You're walking into the courtroom hobbled.
Mike Ploog designed the look of the Ghost Rider, so
yeah.
Basically you're claiming you came up with a name, and then
Yeah.
Plug did all the work. Is that what you're going to
Flaming skeleton, flaming skull,
Flaming skull,
flaming
motorcycle,
skull on a
and
motorcycle
yeah.
and a black leather jacket.
And wasn't there a Western character named the Ghost Rider also?
Marvel had a Western character named the Ghost Rider, which had nothing to do with that
Right.
version of the Ghost Rider. But of course, as time went on, Marvel shoehorned him into Ghost Rider's continuity. But they did the Ghost Rider comic in the mid '60s. It lasted for a couple issues, not long, maybe 5 at most. But
Allman
yeah.
Brothers have a song called Ghost Rider.
Actually, I think there is a song about the Ghost Rider.
and Ghost
But-
Rider.
And I think a lot of this lawsuit is the fact that Friedrich hasn't worked in comics since like 1979.
Well, that's a lot of it. You don't usually sue
Yeah.
unless you need
Yeah, I
money.
mean, DC didn't hire him when he left, and he didn't work for any independents. He just left comics and sort of disappeared off the face of the earth.
Racked up some bills.
You know, as much as I'd like to see Gary Friedrich win that lawsuit, he doesn't sound like he had much of a leg to stand on.
No, it's
He
where
really
the judge
doesn't.
was like, "You wasted my time."
Okay. Moving on. Jason Aaron, who's been on Wolverine forever and a day, it seems,
For about 2 years.
is going to be leaving that book very soon.
Yeah, he's 300, which ships this week, is the beginning of a 3-part story arc, which will involve Wolverine going to deal with the Yakuza in Japan. He's going to write a single issue story with 304, which is going to set up the table for the next writer of the book. Marvel hasn't announced that person yet, but assuming they may be announcing them. Well, they can't wait till C2E2, because then by that point, that first issue will be solicited. So
Yeah.
I'll be willing to bet right now. I'm going to predict it's going to be Greg Rucka. Because Rucka worked on Wolverine before, and he's actually a natural fit for the book. And he's only doing one other book, and that's Punisher.
For those of you who are wondering, Wolverine 300, yeah, it's one of those things where if you add up all the individual appearances of Wolverine up to this point in time, hey, we've hit the 300th anniversary, so Marvel's going to flip the numbering to 300 to capitalize on that, which will last for all of probably about a year and a half until they flip it back to a new number one.
Well, they probably keep it because I mean you have a lot of books that are going to those big numbers, and actually 300 is going to be like a quadruple-sized issue. I mean, next year you're going to get Amazing Spider-Man 700.
Yeah. Okay.
So you got all these anniversary issues. You might as well keep the original numbering.
Warren Ellis, who has done much work at Marvel in the past, is coming back at some point
Yeah,
in the future.
he's finishing up his run on Secret Avengers. I think his last issue didn't ship this week, or it's shipping next week. And then he's going to be done. He won't be doing any comic work for Marvel because he's got other things to do. But he says
other
when he
stuff.
comes back to comics, he will be doing something for Marvel sometime later on at the end of the year, because he also did the G4 animes, all those bad. I think it was a Blade anime,
Okay.
an X-Men anime, there's an Iron Man anime. He wrote all those, and those are running on G4 right now if they haven't popped up at that point. But yeah, his comic work for this point is going to be sort of relaxed, and he has no interest in working anywhere other than Marvel, so he'll be coming back at some point. So Next Wave could actually happen again. You know?
God, I hope not.
Everyone loves Next Wave,
Yeah, I
except
know they
you. It was a great concept.
Another great concept is what Marvel's doing with the Venom title. There's a great big crossover coming up in Venom, and even if you don't like the character, you need to pay attention to it because the structure of this crossover is going to become very important at Marvel.
Yeah, they're going to do a lot of crossovers between titles in the same manner as the Venom event. You've got the Venom. The story will start in a big issue of Venom. Then you've got like the last issue of X-23, the last issue of Ghost Rider, and I think the last. I don't know if Black Panther. No, somebody else.
Black
is
Panther's
involved.
wrapping
Yeah,
up,
yeah. That's. But they're
Been
all going to be.
canceled.
They're all going to be folding into this big, huge story, which takes Venom and all the other people that hang around the Venom universe and sends them to Vegas, which starts like in a couple weeks.
Vegas, baby! Vegas! You love Vegas.
I loved it.
You love Vegas.
People never talk
why-
about it.
I loved
Vegas
it.
In Vegas,
I watch. You know what I do? I when I was home after New Year's, I went to YouTube and I looked at all the people who were literally shoehorned onto the Vegas streets celebrating the beginning of the new year. And then I talked to someone at work who actually came from there, and he said, Vegas on New Year's is a zoo. So my resolution for this year is I'm going to spend New Year's Eve in Vegas just to see if I can go without killing someone.
He's going to come back dead. We are never going to see Bo again after he goes to Vegas for New Year's Eve in 2012, 2013. Okay, last story up. We've sort of talked about this before. Marvel has canned their kids line of books, the Spider-Man and the Superheroes book, Marvel Superheroes book. But they have big plans, which they've yet to mention, for the kids line.
Well, yeah, all those individual books. Actually, what's really weird about this is someone did some number crunching.
Yeah.
You know who the most popular writer in comics is today?
Who?
Paul Tobin.
Paul Tobin.
He writes Spider-Man and superheroes, and those sell well everywhere else. But they're going to end it.
Why are they canceling them then?
Individual low sales. They're not. I mean, they're selling well in other markets, but they're not selling well enough to generate Marvel shipping them everywhere else every month. So they're going to replace them with something different. Now, Spider-Man editor Steve Wacker, he told Comic Book Resources months ago, he had an idea how to make the kids' books actually make sense so that they don't look like tie-ins to movies.
Yeah.
And just things we're doing to pander to kids. he's got this bold, insane idea of what to do with kids' books, and I think Wacker's going to be in charge of this new line, and it's going to involve a whole bunch of other stuff, and it'll read like stuff that's interesting to people our age, and it'll read like stuff that's interesting to kids, but it'll appeal to a much larger market.
I don't understand what this problem is Marvel has with pandering to kids' books. You're going to write kids' books, you write them for kids. So you just write the damn kids' books. Well, you're not pandering, you're writing for your audience, and your audience is kids. It's not pandering.
Oh, I think the whole kids' book market is kind of soft as hell. Kids aren't reading; they're reading stuff.
Well, here at the store, I've always had a huge section set off to the side for kids' books, and I've got probably more kids' books. And everybody's going to sit here and say, "You're just saying that because you own the place." I probably have the biggest kids' book selection of any store in Chicago.
I've been to other stores. Believe me, most places don't have any kids' books.
If you got a bigger one, step up.
I have a huge kids' book selection. If someone else has a bigger one, please let me know, because I'd like to get some ideas on how to expand it even more. Because, as I've said many times before here on the Video Outhouse, kids are the future, and you got to get kids to read comics. And most of what I see are parents dragging their kids in to read comics, not kids rushing and going, "Oh, I have to have the latest issue of Spider-Man." It's parents going, "Come on, you got to read something," and dragging the kid in.
And then the kid comes to the store.
What do you got for my kid to read? Because he won't read.
He goes to the kids section, and he looks back over the rack, and he goes, "I want to read Venom."
Yeah, he wants to read. Yeah. They wander back over into the Marvel section and go, "I want this Wolverine where he's got the knife stuck in it."
Right.
But anyway,
that's part of the problem.
That's part of. But anyway, as far as pandering goes, you write kids' books for kids, and it's not pandering, but whatever.
Well, it worked. Well, the only other writer, is Sully Fitch, the guy who does the books over at DC. He's the guy writing those backup stories in Action.
Yeah.
He seems to be able to write a few kids' books, but Sully Fitch is like 60, 70 years old. He's been doing this for a while. And most of the old-time creators who worked on Archie comics back then, they're all dead.
Speaking of kids' books, check out Indie News number 98 in this section of Indie News, because we're going to lead off with a big kids' news story about Archie. But that's over in Indie News. That's over in Indie News. And we're done here in Marvel News. We're done. We're finished. We're out of here. We've got no more Marvel News. But you can go to the store's website, check out all the Marvel News that this man sends me that I post up. Where is the store's website?
Sarah knows all this stuff, but she can't talk right now.
It's because she's right out there.
You'll feel way better about yourself. www.marltonatrally.com.
So stop off at the store's website and check out all the news he sends me that I post up. And until next time...
This is Bo.
And this is Comic Book Man saying, 111th, baby! Bye!
The Video Outhouse is brought to you by some of the finest people willing to work for free. This is a list of some of them.